Back this week with a new edition of a full first round mock draft. This is my first one, technically since the spin the wheel of chaos video, but my first my first one since my very first video of this draft cycle, which was a good few weeks ago now. I'm pretty sure maybe 5, 6 weeks ago now. First video put out was first full round mock, and this one's definitely going to look a lot differently than the last one, because we just had free agency start this week, and there's been a lot of big moves that have happened. So if you were here around my channel last year, how I did this was I'm going to be going back and forth between the simulator that you see here and this website over here on NFL.com, that just talks about and breaks down all the things. First, before we get into the draft, there's still some big name free agents out there. Amari Cooper, I think Asante Samuel Jr., in my opinion, is probably about the best one out there. Would love the Steelers to try to go and get him if we can. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tevin Jenkins, Calais Campbell, Azeez Ojulari, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson. A lot of names still out there. Justin Simmons, that can make an impact still for your team this year. But I just spent the past about 2 hours probably breaking down teams and just looking at their rosters and their depth charts after this first kind of wave of free agency has hit. Um, and making a needs list, my own personal needs list for every single team. Um, and yeah, it took me a long time, but I'm really excited about that because I'm really excited that it can make a big impact on this video. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about what they did real quick. Going down here to the AFC South, Tennessee Titans have the number one overall pick. They went in and signed Brandon Allen, veteran quarterback that's, I think, started a game or two last year for the 49ers. Oh my gosh, for the 49ers. There we go. They also signed Van Jefferson. Then they gave a huge contract to Dan Moore. I think a lot of people were shocked by, including myself. Then they also signed Blake Hance, not too familiar with him. They signed veteran Kevin Zeitler, guard. They signed Corey Levin, re-signed, sorry, not too familiar with him either. They went out and they got Draymond Jones, was with the Seahawks last year. They re-signed Sebastian Joseph Day. They signed Cody Barton, an inside backer, former Bronco, and I can't think of the other team off the top of my head. Signed Xavier Woods, and then re-signed a long snapper and signed Johnny Hecker. So Tennessee Titans on the clock at number one. My official needs list for the Tennessee Titans: wide receiver, backup tight end, quarterback, edge rusher, inside backer, cornerback, and set. So really pretty much the whole entire defense, plus wide receiver, quarterback, and then a backup tight end. My three biggest needs are in no particular order for the Tennessee Titans: wide receiver, edge, cornerback. Also, I am a little sick right now, so just bear with me there. So I think now, looking at it with Tennessee Titans, I think I'm back to my Abdul Carter wave at number one overall to the Tennessee Titans. I just think he's the best player in this class. I just think that if you're the Tennessee Titans, and I think I said this in my very first, I've said this in a video before, I'm pretty sure. You're the Tennessee Titans. Even if you draft Cam Ward, or maybe I don't think Shedeur Sanders is really in the number one overall pick conversation anymore. But if you were to draft either one of those quarterbacks at number one overall and roll them out there this year, I still don't think you compete, right? I still think you're at the top of the class next year. And I think next year is a very, shaping up to be a very, very deep, very deep class at all positions, but especially at quarterback. And I think if you're the Tennessee Titans, I think you got to take the risk of saying, hey, we're going to see what Will Levis has for one more year. Maybe he improves significantly. Doubt it, but maybe he does. And maybe you're like, wow, maybe we can just rock Will Levis, eh? But I think that you're Tennessee Titans. I think you got to take Abdul Carter. I think he's way too good to not take. And maybe you take a quarterback later in this draft, Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, one of those guys. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Cleveland Browns at number two overall. But finish up that Titans thing while we get there. I just don't think you compete. I think you wait till next year. Cleveland Browns, the most insane trade. I think the most random trade at that to hit the Twitter notifications on my phone was they traded Dorian Thompson Robinson and a fifth round pick to the Eagles for Kenny Pickett. I could not believe this when it hit my phone. Like legitimately. Um, I still don't think this necessarily answers the QB question for them. Maybe this answers the QB question to an extent of you're saying, hey, we're not taking a QB at 2. Because we're just gonna rock Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson when he gets back from injury. I'm not really sure what the timetable looks like for him. I'm not sure if he's gonna be, there week 1 or later in the year, not sure. But yeah, very random. Very, very random. They went and signed Cornelius Lucas, really a needle mover there. The big thing for them though was the 4-year extension of Myles Garrett. After requesting a trade publicly and everything, Myles Garrett is re-signing in Cleveland on a huge contract, which, you know, is granted. That's what he deserves, but it's a big get for the Browns. They also went and got Joe Tryon Shoyinka. Shoyinka, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. He was former Buck, maybe first round pick. He's out of Washington though. They signed him on a 1-year deal. Not a great year last year. He's a guy though that's made somewhat of an impact on that Bucks defense over the past few years. So I think it's a good. I think it's a good get for them. I think it takes them out of the edge conversation, in my opinion. Um, I don't have edge listed as a need for them at all now. I think that, even if Abdul Carter is on the board at 2, maybe you pass up on him now. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of dumb, but I don't know. D line, they went and got Malik Collins on a 2-year deal, not too bad. And then they also got Devin Bush, which helps that linebacking room. My needs for the Cleveland Browns are as the following: wide receiver, left tackle, halfback, quarterback, backup tight end, front 7 depth, cornerback, and secondary depth. A lot of needs for the Browns. My top 3 for them, in no particular order, again: left tackle, quarterback, cornerback. I think it's a hard conversation to have about Cam Ward here at 2 to the Browns, because I think it could make sense. Um, but I think Travis Hunter being here, I think might have to be the pick. I think I'm gonna go Travis Hunter here at 2 the Browns. He's gonna play corner for them, even get some wide receiver reps. And that's, I have cornerback as one of their biggest needs. And if I had to list a 4th after left tackle, quarterback, cornerback that I just listed, it'd probably be wide receiver. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Actually, it'd probably be running back because Sherman Ford isn't that great and they lost Nick Chubb, but well, maybe. But anyways, going on to 3 at the Giants. The Giants have done a few things here and there. Um, they really spent most of their money on the defense side of the ball, which granted is good. They did re-sign Tommy DeVito, so they at least have a quarterback on their roster right now. I know they've been linked to the veteran guys, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and I think Jameis Winston as well. They re-signed Darius Slayton. They re-signed Emir Smith-Marset. They re-signed Chris Manhertz. They went out and signed Stone Forsythe and James Hudson. They also signed on the defense side of the ball Chauncey Golson, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Roy Robertson Harris, Chris Board, Paulson Adebo, which is a big get for them, Javon Holland, which is also a big get for them, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, and then re-signed their punter and their long snapper. Their depth needs for me are the following: quarterback, wide receiver depth, O-line help. I said O-line help because you're kind of fine at tackle with Jermaine Illuminor and Andrew Thomas, but both guys are kind of injury prone. Evan Neal, you might just need to give up on. And they're fine at center, in my opinion, and their guards are kind of mid. So I just kind of said O-line help. Wide receiver depth, O-line help, quarterback, secondary depth, and front 7 on defense in general. mainly more IDL amount in my opinion than edge. My top three for them are quarterback, again in no particular order, quarterback, O-line help, and front seven. And I think with Cam Ward still being here on the board at three, I think Cam Ward's definitely the pick for the New York Giants at three. I would be interested to see if you go get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, do you still take Cam Ward? I think yes, but he sits here. I don't know though. Now the Patriots. Patriots are probably one of the biggest winners in free agency so far, in my opinion. Um, Patriots have went out and splashed, made some splash plays on the defensive side of the ball, um, signing a lot of big name guys. So far they've got Joshua Dobbs to be the backup quarterback to Drake May. They went out and got Matt Collins, not really a needle mover for me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Re-signed Austin Hooper, signed Morgan Moses. Not really a needle mover for me, in my opinion. Um, I mean, probably gonna be your starter at right tackle, but yeah. Signed Wes Schweitzer, not too familiar with him. But then on defense, wow. Clavon Chason and Harold Landry, the big contract to Milton Williams. Got I'm not sure even I say his name. Tonga, also an IDL. Went out and got Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, Marcus Epps, and re-signed Jalen Hawkins. Very big signings for the Patriots. Very much needed signing for the Patriots at that. Talking about their needs, in my opinion, I have wide receiver, left tackle, left guard, front seven depth, with wide receiver, left tackle, left guard being the top three. And I think with left guard and left tackle being a need for them, I think Will Campbell makes the most sense. Played left tackle all 3 years at LSU. There's the saying that maybe he might end up playing guard in the league. And if that's the case, then that's the case. I think you just got the big help that you needed right there, with Will Campbell, whether he's going to play left tackle for you or whether he's going to play left guard for you as well. Then we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think are in a very interesting spot going into the season because, in my opinion, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you're not good again this year, I think Trevor Lawrence is on the trade block going into next year. But signings that they have made, they signed Nick Mullins to be their backup after losing Mac Jones to San Fran, I'm pretty sure. They went out and got De'Ami Brown and Hunter Long and Johnny Munt. So two tight ends after releasing Evan Ingram. We went on and got Chuma Edoga from the Cowboys, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, and then I thought this was a really good signing for them with Jordan Lewis on a 3-year, $30 million deal at the cornerback position, which I thought was a need for them. And they also went and got Eric Murray, who was on the Texans last year. So I will say the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Um, just yeah. Like I said, I'm a little sick, so struggling to talk a whole lot right now. Needs for the Jaguars, my bad. Needs for the Jaguars. Wide receiver depth. O-line help, interior defensive line, safety, defensive depth, with wide receiver depth, IDL, and safety being their three biggest needs for me. I do think Tenero McMillan could be in play here. But man, I think with Mason Graham sitting on the board right here, I think that's just such a big get for them in this draft. I really, and I talked about this in my video last week with the Raiders 7-round mock draft. I think Mason Graham, one of these two spots, has got to be the pick. I think it would be an absolute insane get for either one of those teams, and a really good get for either one of those teams at that. At 6 with the Raiders, they went out and made some signings. Obviously, though, the big thing for them in this offseason right now is the Geno Smith trade for the 3rd-round pick, number 92. This was an interesting one. They went outside Raheem Mostert. Does that answer their running back room problem? Kind of, but not really, in my opinion. Also signed Alex Kappa, give the big extension to Max Crosby, re-signed Malcolm Kuntz, re-signed Adam Butler, went out and signed Landon Roberts, who essentially just replaces your Robert Spillane role, which you lost him to the Patriots. Signed Eric Stokes, interested signing. Really good signing though, I think for them. I think this is their best signing was Jeremy Chin. And then they also signed Isaiah Mayau. I'm not sure how you say that. To a 2-year extension. This was a guy that when I made the video last week about the Raiders, I didn't really mention him. His PFF grade wasn't great, but supposedly a lot of people like him. So interested by that. Las Vegas Raiders needs are listed as wide receiver, O line depth, running back, IDL, really the whole defense. I think they could use help at all the defense positions. And then along with wide receiver, potentially running back and O line depth. My 3 biggest needs for them are wide receiver, interior defensive line, and cornerback. And with Tedero McMillan still sitting here, I think that's got to be the pick for them at 6. Tedero McMillan out of Arizona to the Raiders. 7 with the New York Jets on the board. Jets have had an interesting free agency because they went out and got my guy Justin Fields, and they got him on a pretty good deal at that. They also went and re-signed Kine Nwangu. Nwangu, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that one either. They signed Chooks Okorafor, former Pittsburgh Steel, which is interesting because after he left Pittsburgh last year and went to the Patriots, he only played 12 snaps, I think it was, in the first game of the year, and then didn't play the rest of the year. So that's going to be interesting to see. Went on to sign Josh Myers, center, former Packer, if I'm correct. Went and got Byron Cowart, interior defensive lineman. Re-signed Jamie Sherwood, which I thought was a big thing for them. Signed cornerback Brandon Stevens. Signed Andre Cisco and signed Isaiah Oliver. Or sorry, re-signed Isaiah Oliver. My needs for the New York Jets are wide receiver depth, right tackle, tight end, front 7 depth, and secondary depth. With their 3 biggest needs being right tackle, tight end, front 7 depth. I think this is an option for Tyler Warren. I haven't had him this early, but I think it's definitely an option. Um, I don't think there's really a tackle this early that I like too much. Front 7 depth could be an option. Some of the edge rushers, some of the interior defense lineman guys really just stacking it up with what you already have. But man, I think Tyler Warren's a real option here. I really do. And I'm actually going to take him at 7 to the New York Jets, which is insane to say to myself. Man, draft them. There we go. Did not expect that one going into this video, that's for sure. So for the Carolina Panthers, did just go on a little coughing tangent there, so I had to pause the recording. For the Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton re-signs 2-year deal. Signed Rico Dowdle, which I thought was very interesting for them. I don't know if it was a bad move necessarily for them, but I thought it was interesting from the state of North Carolina. So he's coming back home to play football at least for a year. Re-signed Tommy Tremble, re-signed Brady Christensen, re-signed Austin Corbett. And then where they really made the splash moves on the defensive side of the ball, signed Patrick Jones II, former Viking edge rusher, Tershawn Wharton, former Kansas City Chief, I'm pretty sure, nose tackle Bobby Brown III, Christian Roseboom, and linebacker, gave J.C. Horn a big extension, signed Mike Jackson, the cornerback, former Seahawk. Really big signing for them. Trayvon Merrick. I think I was calling him Trayvon Morig last week in the video, and that was my bad. I don't know why I was doing that. And also signed Sam Martin, former Appalachian State Mountaineer, Buffalo Bill, Appalachian State, my alum, also in the state of North Carolina. So my needs for the Carolina Panthers. Sorry, I put my phone in my pocket. I forgot. My needs for the Carolina Panthers is I literally just have it listed as wide receiver and defense and nothing else. Like it's just defense. I'd say the 3 biggest are probably edge, inside backer, and probably receiver. But I think edge and inside backer are definitely the 2 that you're looking at here. I don't really think like Jahad Campbell, I think it's too early for me. I think it could make sense for Jalen Walker if you wanted to take him as a I don't know, like maybe you're playing him at edge or inside backer. I'm not sure. I think this could be a trade back spot as well. But I think IDL is also a need for them, obviously, because I said whole defense. I think a name that really makes sense for them is Shamar Stewart. Got a great combine. I think it can make sense for them because I think he can play edge or interior defensive line. And so I think I think I'm gonna take Shamar Stewart here at 8. I know it seems a little early, but we're gonna do it just for the vibes. At 9, the New Orleans Saints, staying in the NFC South. They have not done a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and it's really because they can't because they're kind of in a bad spot cap space wise. They already signed Dante Pettis and Jawan Johnson. They signed Jack Stoll. They traded a 2026 7th round draft pick to the Patriots for Devon. I'm not really sure how you pronounce the name. Devon Godshaw is how I'm gonna say it. Godshaw. I'm not really sure. They did get Cam Jordan to return, um, which is nice because it was potential that he was going to retire. They re-signed Chase Young on a big deal, which I thought was interesting. They signed Isaac Idiom, and then they also signed Justin Reed to a big deal. My needs for the New Orleans Saints sitting here on the board at 9 are wide receiver, left guard, right tackle, IDL, and corner. The biggest needs being left guard, right tackle, and IDL. Um, I, I think that they should look. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Saints should look offensive line here. Yeah, I think they should. Honestly, I think they should look offensive line here. I think Shamar Stewart can make sense as well if he was here. Um, I just don't think Ashton Genty really makes any sense. But I think Armand Mimbu or Kelvin Banks Jr. makes sense for them here at 9. I think this is a very likely trade back spot. I'm not going to do any trades yet, even though I really want to. I really want to do some trades. Actually, I'm doing, I think I might do one trade in this video. We'll get there when we get there. I think it's a really good trade down spot for the Saints because I think they could use the extra picks. And this is so early for Kelvin Banks. This is such a good trade down spot. This is a really good trade down spot. See, the main team I would like to bring up here is Miami, but if I brought up Miami, I feel like I would still take Kelvin Banks. I don't really think there's anybody that would trade up here for Ashton Genty. This is early. I'm sorry I'm taking so long on this pick. This is a tough pick to make. This is early, but I'm going to take Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas here at 9 for the Saints. I just think that might make the most sense for the New Orleans right now. I don't know. That's a tough team to pick for right now, guys. At 10, we've got the Chicago Bears, who, man, I think they're the winners right now. I think that they've got to be the winners of free agency so far with the trades that they've made. So they did sign Durham Smythe, but then this is where it really gets started. They trade for Jonah Jackson, for a 6th-round pick, and then sign a contract extension. They give a 4th-round pick in 2026 for Joe Thuney. Great trade. They signed Drew Dahlman to a big contract. Great signing. Completely clears up that interior offensive line problem that they had going into free agency. Then they signed Dio Odiegbo. I knew how to pronounce his name and I can't think of it. To a pretty big contract. Same with Grady Jarrett, but that definitely helps them out, both of those. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name, but they re-signed him and they re-signed their long snapper. Chicago Bears needs that I have listed are wide receiver, a question mark at running back, because I think you go into the year fine with DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. But Ashton Genty's very, very, very much like intriguing sitting here at 10. I also have listed as backup quarterback, a little bit of help at edge. I don't know about edge at 10 overall, but I think some help at edge could be of use. And I do think they could use some help at interior backer and just some overall depth on the defense side of the ball. But I think I got to do it. I think I have to take Ashton Genty with him just sitting here. I think it's too early for any of the receivers. If Ted McMillan got here, I think that would be the pick. But I'm going to take Ashton Genty at 10 to the Bears. I think it's super intriguing. You bring in Ben Johnson, who's going to want to run the football. So Why not go get Ashton Genty? At 11, the 49ers, they've had just like a mass exodus during free agency. They've lost a lot of guys. They did bring in Mac Jones to back up Brock Purdy. After releasing Kyle Juszczyk, they re-signed him. Very weird situation there. Re-signed Patrick Taylor. They did sign Demarcus Robinson, which I thought was a pretty good signing after trading Deebo Samuel. Signed Luke Farrell. Signed Ben Barch, Luke Gifford, Trey Brown, Richie Grant, and Jason Pinnock in a long snapper. My needs I've listed for the San Francisco 49ers. This is a big year for them. I said offensive tackle, backup tight end, edge, IDL, corner, and maybe safety. I did put a question mark at safety. The three biggest needs being edge, IDL, and corner. I do think this is a good spot for a tackle. Maybe Minbu or Simmons. But man, I think with their need of just help on the defense side of the ball, at corner and at safety, I think Jaire Barron makes a lot of sense for them here at 11. The cornerback out of Texas. And I talked about Jaire Barron, I think, in last week's, no, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, where I just talked about him kind of almost like in a sense of, I do think he can play nickel. I think he can play outside corner. I think he can play safety. So I think they can make sense for the 49ers at 11. My voice is going out here a little bit, but we're going to keep on going. We're at 12 with the Cowboys, I clicked north and not east, sorry, who have had an interesting free agency so far. So first off, they lost Rico Dowdle, who was their running back last year, but they went and signed Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, two very running backs that have just been mid over the past few years. And I thought it was a very interesting move by them. They signed Paris Campbell, Robert Jones, Dante Fowler, Peyton Turner, former first-round pick out of Houston. Was he the Houston or was he the San Diego State guy? I can't remember. By the Saints. Osia Digizua re-signed on a big contract. They signed Solomon Thomas. They acquired Kenneth Murray in a trade for a late-round pick swap. They also traded for Kyer Elam, which I thought was interesting. Re-signed CJ Goodwin, re-signed Marquise Bell, and then re-signed Kavontae Turpin as well, and their punter and long snapper. Their needs I have listed are wide receiver, running back question marked, tight end question marked as well, backup quarterback, front seven just in general, and safety. I think if Malachi Starks is on the board here, I think that it's probably the pick. The three biggest needs I've listed as wide receiver, front seven, and safety. I could see edge going here. I think maybe James Pierce Jr., Mike Green. But man, I think Malachi Starks can make a lot of sense for them. I do think Luther Burden's also an option there. I actually, you know what? Switching up, I'm not going to go Malachi Starks. I'm actually going to go James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee there at 12 to the Cowboys. Lost DeMarcus Lawrence. Going to bring him in. I think James Pierce Jr. on the opposite side of Michael Parsons is just, that's going to be hard to guard for sure. 13, the Dolphins. Dolphins haven't done too much in free agency. First off, they brought in Zach Wilson to be back up to so expect to see Zach Wilson probably start a game in a Mike McDaniel system at some point this year. Brought in Alexander Madison, which I thought was interesting. Re-signed Dwayne Eskridge. They went and got Nick Westbrook-Akine, which I thought was a pretty good deal for what they got him for. Re-signed Jackson Carman, signed Larry Borum, got James Daniels, which I thought was a huge deal for them. I thought it was very good for them. Re-signed Liam Eichenberg, signed KJ Britt, re-signed Tyrell Dodson, signed Melifonwu. I've never been able to pronounce his first name. Cornerback, former Syracuse cornerback, I'm pretty sure. Or is he the South Carolina one? I can't remember. Re-signed Elijah Campbell and signed Ashton Davis. With Miami, I have their needs listed as tackle, left guard, backup tight end, IDL, ILB depth, safety, and cornerback depth. I think Malachi Starks sitting here is interesting. I had tackle, left guard, and IDL listed as their biggest needs. And even though Malachi Starks is intriguing to me for them, I think Armand Membu sitting here is a very good option. I think I'm not 100%. Yeah, he played right. He did play right tackle in 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 college, and they've got Teron Armstead at left tackle right now. So I think that can make sense. I still like Josh Evans better than Omar Mimbu. The injury history is the only problem. Also, he played left tackle and not right. He did play right tackle in 2022. But we're gonna go ahead and take Armand Mimbu here just due to the injury history of Josh Evans. We're gonna continue to drop him a little bit. Not the highest on Armand Mimbu there, but hey, a lot of people are taking him early, so I'm gonna take him early for right now as well, I guess. 14 with the Colts. The Colts, man, the only thing on top of my head that I remember that they've done is sign Daniel Jones. Yeah, I forgot they did go get Khalil Herbert. They re-signed Ashton Dulin as well. Not too much moves from the Colts so far. Re-signed Danny Pinter, signed Corey Ballantyne, former Packer cornerback, and Charvarius Ward, as well, which I thought was a very big deal for them. I think getting Charvarius Ward and Cameron Bynum were two huge deals for the Colts. I have their needs listed as right guard, tight end, IDL, and ILB. I think tight end, IDL, and ILB are the three biggest needs. They did lose Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, but I think their offensive line is relatively fine. Right guard is like I said, a need, probably a question mark. Malachi Starks being here, I think, is a very good pickup for them. Even though I didn't list safety, I just don't think I think this is too early for Colson Loveland. I think if Tyler Warren was to is definitely the pick. Um, IDL wise, I would probably say it's kind of too early for any of these guys. Walter Nolan's probably still my one right now. Over Kenneth Grant, Derek Carmen, Darius Alexander. Um, but I think a guy that they're going to be interested in too as well, though, is Nick Eamon-Wari, the way he tested and everything. I think he's a guy that might end up getting in the first round for sure after the combine. Jahad Kim was an interesting player here as well. He's a guy that I think could fit their system, fit alongside Zaire Franklin. But man, I think this is one of those situations where, you kind of have your needs and you're looking at it and you're just like, man, I think we just go BPA. And I think Malachi Starks is probably BPA, maybe Will Johnson as well. In that conversation. Maybe Michael Williams in that conversation, Jalen Walker in that conversation. But I'm gonna take Malachi Starks here at 14 of the Colts, just because I just feel like that's too good of a player at that point to pass up on if you're the Colts, especially because even though you did get Cam Bynum, I don't necessarily think that maybe that's a needle mover for you. Maybe that's the case. Going down back here to the NFC South, we're with the Atlanta Falcons now, who haven't done a ton, and they really haven't targeted what their biggest need is, which I'll get to in a minute for me at all. They did re-sign Kadero Hodge. They signed Jake Matthews to an extension, re-signed Storm Norton. They did get Leonard Floyd, which I thought was a pretty good signing for them. They signed Devon Diablo, Morgan Fox, re-signed Mike Hughes, and signed their long snapper to an extension. My needs for the Falcons are wide receiver. I know that seems weird because they got production on Cordero Hodge and Ray McLeod last year, in that room with Drake London and Darnell Mooney. But I still do think the wide receiver could be of use for them. So don't be shocked if they do take a wide receiver in the first round this year. Center, I think could be of use. They did lose Drew Dahlman to the Bears. Tight end, edge, and safety, with center, edge, and safety being their biggest needs. I just don't know if there's a center here right now that could make sense for them. Maybe Gray Zabel plays center. But I think edge rusher makes a lot of sense for them. Really, all the guys are still sitting here on the board, obviously, except for Abdul Carter and James Pierce Jr. Mike Green, Michael Williams. Which one do you want? I think I'm going to go with, man, I don't know. I think I'm going to go Mike Green. No, I'm going to go Michael Williams. Staying in Georgia, two Georgia players in a row right there, back to back off the board. Michael Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. Here's the trade I was talking about. Let me talk about the Cardinals real quick before I make the trade. They did sign Jacoby Brissett to back up Kyler Murray. They signed Simi Fioco, re-signed Zay Jones, re-signed Kelvin Beachum, re-signed Evan Brown, re-signed Baron Browning, re-signed LJ Collier, gave Josh Sweat a big contract, gave Dalvin Thomason a pretty decent contract as well, signed Appalachian State alum again, Akeem Davis Gaither, former Bengal, signed Michael Walker, and re signed their long snapper. This is the trade I was talking about. Arizona had their needs listed as guard, IDL, ILB, corner. I think corner, ILB, and guard are their biggest needs. I think Gray's Able could make sense here. But I'm gonna make an interesting trade. This is a trade that I've played around with when going through the simulator stuff like that. And I'm gonna be trading with the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. First off, we're gonna swap first round picks. The Green Bay Packers are gonna trade a player that they are allowing to request or seek out trades and stuff, and Jaire Alexander. And then the Cardinals are going to throw a 2026 fourth rounder. Now this is a trade that has went through for me. Maybe it ends up being a third rounder instead of a fourth. And that one does get accepted. So this trade is Green Bay Packers send 16. Green Bay Packers send 23 and Jaire Alexander to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for 16 and a 2026 third round pick. Green Bay Packers are going to come up. And this is very interesting. We're going to talk about the Packers while I'm sitting here before I make their pick. The Packers have signed Aaron Banks to a big deal, re-signed Isaiah McGuffey. They did sign Nate Hobbs to a pretty big deal as well, and they re-signed Brandon McManus. They're gonna move up here, and this is an interesting pick. I have their needs listed as wide receiver question mark, edge, interior backer, quarterback question mark. But now that you've traded Jaire Alexander, I still think their cornerback room is rather fine. But now that you've traded Jaire Alexander, you're gonna move up here and you're gonna get Will Johnson out of Michigan, cornerback. Will Johnson and Malachi Starks, honestly, so far have been my two biggest fallers probably in this draft process, low key or kind of low key. I don't really know. But yeah. Anyways, that's my one trade I'm gonna make this video. 17, Cincinnati Bengals. Now the Cincinnati Bengals have been essentially just playing keep away in this in this free agency so far. They did go get Samaj P. Ryan, which I thought was relatively weird move. I don't know. They did though. They re-signed T. Higgins. They re-signed Mike Gesicki. They re-signed Tanner Hudson. They re-signed Cody Ford, Joseph Asai, Cam Sample, B.J. Hill, a bunch of just re-signs, Marco Wilson. But they also went out and got T.J. Slayton and Oren Burns. Now, it has been said that there's been reports that they're looking at giving T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both big contract extensions before this season. Trey Hendrickson has requested a trade. Sam Hubbard has retired. They are very clearly hurting at the edge position. I do have their needs listed as O-line help, edge, IDL, safety, and cornerback depth. And I think just with everything going on at the edge position for them, I think that's got to be the pick for them. Mike Green still sitting here is going to be my pick. The edge rush out of Marshall for the Bengals at 17. At 18, the Seattle Seahawks. Man, they probably have made the singular biggest move of this free agency potentially in signing Sam Darnold. And then they go get Cooper Kupp. And then they also signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Now, yes, Tyler Lockett got released. Yes, they traded DK Metcalf. All right. They did sign Josh Jones. They went and got DeMarcus Lawrence, which I thought was a big move for them. Re-signed Jaron Reed, re-signed Ernest Jones. My Seattle Seahawks needs are the following. Wide receiver depth. Yes, they have Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but they really don't have any depth on that. Jake Bobo will congrats, Guard, it's really honestly, it's really bad how bad they need the guard position. And then interior backer or ILB and cornerback. I think Shahad Campbell sitting here could be a nice pick for them. Really because I'm really looking at picking him 19 with the I was about to say Cowboys, sorry, the Buccaneers. But dude, I know that their GMs came out and said, hey, we don't value guard that much. Whatever. I don't care, man. It's such a bad need for you. You got to take Tyler Booker here at 18, in my opinion. Tyler Booker's going to be my pick at 18 for the Seattle Seahawks, the guard out of Alabama. 19, the Buccaneers. I just said it. I'm going to go ahead and draft Jahad Campbell. I'll come back and talk about that in just a minute. Last team from the NFC South here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went out, they re-signed Kyle Trask, they re-signed Chris Godwin, which was a big thing for them. Re-signed Sterling Shepard, re-signed Ben Bredesen, re-signed Anthony Nelson, signed Hassan Reddick, which could end up being a big move for them. Re-signed Greg Gaines and Levante David, signed Anthony Walker Jr., and signed Kendall Vildor. Also signed Riley Dixon, former Broncos player. Their needs listed for me are left guard, edge rusher, ILB, safety, quarterback, with their three biggest needs being left guard, inside backer, and safety. So I think that is a no doubter. Tyler Booker still being on the board can be interesting. Maybe Gray Zabel, taking second year in a row, taking a former tackle, playing a different position in the first round. After taking Graham Barton last year. But Jahad Campbell's going to be my pick at 19. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I think inside backer is probably their biggest need, in my opinion. At 20, the Broncos. Man, honestly, them and the Bears, probably the winners of free agency for me, in my opinion. Re-signed Jarrett Stidham, signed Trent Sherfield, signed Evan Ingram, which I thought was a big move, big get for them. I think that takes them out of Colson Loveland at 20, probably. Re-signed Matt Pert, re-signed DJ Jones, and then it really gets started. They got Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. Two big signings for that defense that was already really good. Re-signed Justin Strand as well. And re-signed their long snapper. Denver Broncos needs for me at pick 20. Got wide receiver, halfback, inside backer, even with signing Dre Greenlaw, and cornerback. I just said cornerback help. I think they could use a corner, but probably not first round. The three biggest needs for me: wide receiver, halfback, interior backer. And with Armarion Hampton still being on the board here, welcome to Denver, man. Bo Nix, Amarion Hampton, Cortland Sutton. I did list wide receiver in that top three there. But here's my thing with them at wide receiver. They have a bunch of interesting names there. Like, obviously, you've got Cortland Sutton. Devon Vele is interesting. Troy Franklin's interesting. Oh, my God. Marvin Mims is interesting. There was a name I couldn't get in my head. It was Marvin Mims. And then also they signed Trent Sherfield. I think Luther Burden's definitely in play for them. But, man, I don't know. Steelers, interesting to see that they've updated our needs now to quarterback, running back, tackle, safety. I think that's interesting, having tackle on there and safety. I think that's very interesting. Pittsburgh Steelers, my Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, what have we done? Pretty much nothing to me. That's what it feels like. Gotten worse. That's what we've done. We were too cheap to sign Justin Fields. Over $10 million. The Jets gave him $10 more million, and we couldn't match that. Are we serious? Sorry, this is like one of the first times I ever got mad on a video, but I'm being legit right now. That is ridiculous to me. That's awful. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Here's Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as our quarterback room. No. Jeez. Like, the Pittsburgh Steelers have me wanting Russell Wilson back as our quarterback. Are we serious? I'm really hoping that we sign Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers right now. It's ridiculous, man. Dude, like at this, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. At this, we signed Trey Lance. I would rather Trey Lance play as our quarterback this year than Mason Rudolph. It's insane. And then it's just like, hey, we're not even going to offer Najee Harris. Here's Kenneth Gainwell. What? Are we serious? It's ridiculous. The day after we trade for DK Metcalf. Oh, we traded for DK Metcalf. And I'm like, oh my God. We're making legitimate moves. Now we don't have a second round pick. Because we got DK Metcalf or Mason Rudolph for throwing the dang ball, man. Ridiculous. Re-sign Ben Skowronek. If you know me for years. I don't like Ben Skowronek. I really don't. Cool, he's a good run blocker. That's awesome. I don't like him from his Notre Dame days. I could care less about Ben Skowronek. Signed Donald Parham. Sick. We've got 4 tight ends already. Like what? Oh my gosh. Sorry that I'm going off right now about the Steelers guys, but oh my gosh. Malik Harrison, cool. Why is he listed as an IDL? He plays inside backer. Brendan Eccles sucked last year for the Jets. And Darius Slay, that's cool. That's fine. Thanks. But it's just like still, I don't know. Pittsburgh Steelers needs quarterback, wide receiver depth, O line depth, interior defensive line, cornerback, and safety depth. It used to be Luther Burden. It used to be as simple as either Luther Burden or Emeka Ibuka. And now I'm not even considering those guys. The most insane thing to think about is as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan right now, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, we might draft Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart at 21. I don't want that to happen. Please don't let that happen. I think with Will Johnson off the board, Jaire Barrett off the board, I think you got to look at the interior of the defensive line, man. I'm not going to lie. I think you do. And my guy would be Walter Nolan, I think. God, that's just so sad that I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, we're going to have to take Walter Nolan at 21. Jeez, man. Ridiculous. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the Steelers rant. Anyways, going to the Chargers at 22. They signed my guy Naj. Good signing by them. I hope he goes off, honestly, for them. I really hope he does. Taylor Heineke re-signing. Signed Najee Harris. Re-signed Jalen Rager. Signed Mike Williams. I thought that was interesting. Re-signed Bradley Bozeman. Signed Mekhi Becton. I thought was a good move by them. Signed Deshaun Hand. Re-signed Khalil Mack. Signed Naquan Jones. Tyre Tart returning a new deal. Had a really good year for them. Troy Dye returning on a 2-year deal. And then they also went and got Denzel Perryman re-signed, Dante Jackson, Elijah Molden, Benjamin St. Juste, and re-signed the punter. My needs for the Chargers are the following. Backup running back. Tight end question mark. Then edge, interior defense line, corner. Those are my 3 biggest needs are edge, interior defense line, and corner. I think Luther Burden is sitting here and Emeka Ibuka sitting here as interesting options for them, even though I didn't have wide receiver listed on that list. But really not a corner that I'd probably take here this early yet. I think Kenneth Grant sitting here is a good pick for them. Already knowing Jim Harbaugh, Kenneth Grant at 22 to the Chargers. 23, Cardinals after trading back and acquiring Jaire Alexander and giving him probably a new contract, though, in that situation. Going back to their needs list, like I said earlier, is the following. Guard, IDL, ILB, and corner. Gray Zabel still sitting here. I think that's a home run pick for them. They go take Gray Zabel, play him at guard. 24, the Minnesota Vikings. What have the Minnesota Vikings done? Some interesting moves. Obviously, lost Sam Darnold. Looks like it's J.J. McCarthy's time in Minnesota. First off, re-sign Aaron Jones, but then you trade for Jordan Mason. That happened last night, actually. Recording this midday on Sunday, like usual. But man, what an interesting move by them for that one. Then you signed Justin Skule, and then they got Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, both former Indianapolis Colts. Big move by them there. And then they went and got Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Eric Wilson, re-signed Byron Murphy, got Isaiah Rodgers, got Tavares Thomas, Theo Jackson extension, Harrison Smith's coming back, and re-signed the punter. My needs for the Minnesota Vikings are the following. Wide receiver. Yes, I said it. I think they need a 3rd wide receiver. I'm not impressed by Jalen Naylor. They don't have any depth behind him either. Left guard, a veteran quarterback. Obviously can't get that in the draft, but veteran quarterback that, back up J.J. McCarthy, Brett Ripien, not cutting it. Cornerback and secondary depth. Their 3 biggest needs for me are wide receiver, cornerback, and secondary depth. And you've got Luther Burden and Emeka Ibuka sitting here. Yeah, I'm going to take Luther Burden here at 24 to the Minnesota Vikings. Tell me if you've seen that one mocked before. 25, Houston Texans. And I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. I can't talk too fast because of being sick. This messing with me a little bit. So I'm trying to talk a little slower. Um, but we do got March Madness selection show coming on here in about 30 minutes to an hour. So I'm very excited about that. I want to get done before that comes on. Houston, re-signed Dario Ngubawale, signed Braxton Berrios, and acquired Christian Kirk in a trade, and also signed Justin Watson. I think that takes them out of the wide receiver need in the draft. They acquired Ed Ingram in a deal. But man, I just, him and getting Laken Tomlinson, not really, needle moving for me there too much. They did get Derek Barnett back. They got Darrell Taylor, re-signed Mario Edwards, signed Sheldon Rakins, signed Nick Neiman, and acquired CJ Gardner Johnson in a trade for Kenyon Green, re-signed NJ Stewart as well. But the big thing for the Texans, and we haven't talked about this yet because we haven't got to the Commanders, is they traded Laremy Tunsil. And that was a very shocking move for me, in my opinion. Especially when their biggest need, in my opinion, going into the draft already was offensive line. Interesting move by them. My needs for the Houston Texans: left tackle, IDL, and then inside backer / secondary depth. Biggest needs really just being left tackle and interior defensive line. But now that Laremy Tunsil's gone, I think Josh Simmons is definitely the move here at 25. And luckily, he's still on the board. 26, and former teammate CJ Stroud got that. 26, Los Angeles Rams. What have the Los Angeles Rams done? Not too much. Re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. They did get Devontae Adams after letting Cooper Kupp go. They re-signed Tutu Atwell. Re-signed Larry Jackson, signed Coleman Shelton, signed Larrell Murkison, and signed Puna Forbes. I thought was a big get for them. My needs for the Los Angeles Rams are wide receiver depth, interior defensive line / edge depth, interior backer, and cornerback. Three biggest needs being wide receiver depth, interior backer, and cornerback. And guess who is still sitting here on the board? It's Jalen Walker, and that's going to be my pick at 27 for the Rams. 27, the Ravens. They haven't done too much either. They went and got DeAndre Hopkins. They did sign Cooper Rush to back up Lamar Jackson. I thought was interesting. Re-signed Patrick Carr, re-signed Ben Cleveland, and then obviously re-signed Ronnie Stanley, which was a very big move for them. My needs for the Ravens: right guard, interior defensive line / edge depth, interior backer, and corner. Really no interior backers here. Corners, maybe Trey Amos, Maxwell Harrison, I think are in the conversation here. But with right guard kind of being a need. And this is a guy that I've seen higher than he's ranked. But man, I think it can make sense. I really do. I'm going to take Donovan Jackson, the tackle at Ohio State, who was a really good left guard for them before having to move out to left tackle after Josh Simmons got hurt. And he would slot in and play right guard for the Ravens. 28 for the Lions. The Lions have signed Kyle Allen, re-signed Tim Patrick, re-signed Marcus Davenport, signed Roy Lopez, re-signed Levi Onwuzurike, Onwuzurike, I think is how I say it. Signed Derek Barnes to an extension, and then got DJ Reed, which is the big move that they made so far. Needs for the Lions are the following: wide receiver depth, guard, kind of a question mark need, edge, cornerback, secondary depth. I think it's kind of like BPA here, secondary wise. And I think that would probably be Trey Amos or Maxwell Harrison or Nick Eamon-Wari. I think corner over safety, though, in my opinion. So I'm going to take Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, the cornerback. 29, Washington. Like I said, they got Laremy Tunsil, so that was a huge trade for them. But really the biggest trade for them, well, that was the biggest one, but then also trade for Deebo Samuel as well. They did re-sign KJ Osborne and Jeremy McNichols and Marcus Mariota and John Bates and Zach Ertz and Trent Scott. But getting Laremy Tunsil and Deebo Samuel, two huge moves for them. Re-signed Michael Dieter, re-signed Cleveland Farrell, got Jacob Martin, got Dietrich Wise, got Eddie Goldman, got Sheldon Day, got Javon Kinlaw, re-signed Bobby Wagner. I mean, ton of moves for the Commanders. Re-signed Noah Igabeyane, I think I say it. I'm not sure how you say that. That's definitely not right. Signed Jonathan Jones and signed Will Harris. My needs for the Commanders going into the draft are the following: guard slash right tackle, um, edge rusher, interior linebacker depth, or ILB depth, secondary depth. Um, I think Donovan Onwuzurike still sitting here is probably the move, or Nick Scowerton, even though I don't really like both these. Oh, wait a minute, Josh Connolly's still here. I forgot about that. I'm going to take Josh Connerly, who was a primary left tackle. We did see him in a rep against Mike Green at the Senior Bowl at right tackle. But he's a guy that I do think could end up playing guard as well in the league if need be. So maybe he's a guy that you play at guard, or he is your right tackle. Uh, Pick 30 with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills have done a little bit here and there. They did give Josh Allen a huge extension. They signed another Appalachian State alum, Darrington Evans, re-signed Ty Johnson, re-signed Reggie Gilliam. They went out and got Josh Palmer, which I thought was an interesting move by them. Gave Clear Secure an extension. Got Kendrick Green, former Pittsburgh Steelers legend. But then this is really where they've made their splash moves here. Was on the defense side of the ball, got Joey Bosa, Michael Hoyt, gave Greg Rousseau an extension, got Larry Ogunjobi, got Terrell Bernard on an extension, signed Dane Jackson, who I think was already there, if I'm not mistaken, and then re-signed DeMar Hamlin and signed Derek Forrest. Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt did both get hit with suspensions, though, like right after they signed, which I thought was crazy. My list of needs for them now are edge, IDL, safety, and corner. Donovan Onwuzurike still here. Probably the pick for me. I think corner could be of use, though, over edge rusher, in my opinion. Safety's also interesting. I think I kind of want to get, yeah, I think I want to get Nick Eamon in the first round here. So I'm going to take him at 30 to the Bills. 31, Kansas City Chiefs. What have the Kansas City Chiefs done? Not a whole lot, really. I mean, they've signed some interesting contracts, that's for sure. We went got Gardner Minshew, re-signed Bailey Zappi, re-signed Kareem Hunt, got Elijah Mitchell, re-signed Marquise Brown, and Juju Smith-Schuster. They gave Jalen Moore a big contract, who is a guy that hasn't really played a whole lot, to potentially be their starting left tackle, I'm pretty sure, which I thought was interesting. Franchise tag Trey Smith, signed Jerry Tillery, re-signed Nick Bolton, which I thought was big for them. Did sign Christian Fulton, which I thought was a good move for them as well. Their needs for me are O-line help, wide receiver as a question mark, IDL, edge depth, safety depth, with the three biggest needs being O-line help, IDL, and safety depth. Still plenty of big time interior defensive linemen here. Really not too many tackles or anybody left. That would have been the move, in my opinion. But IDL, Derek Harmon's still here. TJ Sanders, Tyreek Williams, Alfred Collins, really my four main people here. But I do like TJ Sanders the most out of all these guys, so I'm going to take him. Two South Carolina players back to back here at 30 and 31. Last but not least, Philly. Philly's a team that I've been really entertaining trading back. And maybe, Cleveland or Tennessee coming up back in here to the first round and getting Shedeur Sanders, maybe Las Vegas. But like I said, I'm only going to do one trade here. Philly. Last but not least, the Philadelphia Eagles. They have done the following. They were in the trade with Kenny Pickett, obviously got Dorian Thompson-Robinson back in that. Gave Saquon an extension, signed A.J. Dillon to kind of back up Saquon, signed Harrison Bryant, signed Kylan Granson, acquired Kenyon Green in the trade with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Kenyon Green is interesting because he is a former first-round pick out of Texas A&M, and he has not been good at all in his first years in the NFL. And, they just brought in a guy last year, former NFL or former first-round pick, Mekhi Becton, who played guard for them, who was amazing. Signed Josh Uche, re-signed Zach Vaughn, and then also got Adoree Jackson. My needs for the Eagles are the following: wide receiver depth, guard with a question mark because of the Kenyon Green thing, and then secondary depth. Really nobody guard-wise here that I'd be looking at, to be honest. Wide receiver depth is interesting because Emeka Egbuka is here, so I think that could be a really good pick for them. And then secondary depth, Trey Amos being here as well. But I think you kind of just look BPA, in my opinion. If you need wide receiver depth, my BPA, my best player available is Emeka Egbuka. There's a lot of interesting names, though, before I make that pick here that you'll see in first rounds that have not gone in my first round. starting with Shedeur Sanders, Savon Revel, Trey Amos, Colson Loveland, Matthew Golden, Darius Alexander, Derek Coleman, Donovan Uzurike as Uzurike. But yeah, we're gonna take Emeka Ibuka there at 32 to the Philadelphia Eagles. But anyways, that's it. I know maybe the vibes were a little lower today just due to my sickness and trying to kind of almost rush through to make sure I don't miss the selection show. But yeah, man, this has been a blessing so far. Love making these videos, and hope you enjoyed. See y'all next time. Peace.